Welcome back to Treknopod. We have been away for a few star dates, but we are back. We are back at long last. We're happy to be here. We're happy to be not one, not two, but now three co-captains of this Starship Treknopod. Of course, my name is Shoff. With me, who has been on all the previous missions, would be Captain Vactor. How are you, Vactor?
I'm under the weather a little bit, but I cannot be happier to be back on the ready room, on the bridge with Shoff and our brand new co-host. I can't wait.
And then also we have our newest co-captain joining us from Space Dock. We have Captain Linda Paiges. How are you, Linda?
Hello, I'm great. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm really excited to be here. Just excited to review Enterprise.
Yeah. Well, I was so thrilled to finally get a chance. Going through on Trek Talk and doing TikTok and sort of building up the brand again, I quickly learned how involved and invested you are in that community. And I was like, Vactor and I had talked previously about, we've always wanted like a female perspective on Trek. And seeing just like your like placement in the community and how like what the positive response has been to your content, we're like, we've got to get this person involved in Treknopod. That would be amazing. So
that's so kind.
Very
Thank
happy
you so much.
Yeah.
I could talk about women in Star Trek all day. I've got this women in Star Trek puzzle over here behind me.
Oh yeah,
it's my favorite thing to talk about. So if that's what you're looking for, I'm your girl for sure.
And I think that Enterprise is going to be an interesting show to get a feminine perspective on.
I said, I've got notes on my
because Berman and Braga famously wanted to change things up a little bit for Trek when Enterprise was being made, and opted for something a little bit more adult, shall we say. And I think it was something the fandom wasn't really prepared for, and I don't know if they've ever fully recovered from it either. So
yeah, I think there should be a warning on the Enterprise pilot episode: do not watch with your father.
Exactly.
That was
right.
At least my dad was like screaming at the TV, like, why do they do this? Why did they write this scene? It's so awkward. I don't know.
See, like, I would feel awkward as the dad too, you know, like,
I mean,
with my daughters in the room and like, okay, I can't look at Paul right now. I'm going to go to the bathroom. I'll be back. So anyways, if we haven't shown our hand yet, we are going to be watching, going through the entire series of Enterprise from start to finish, beginning with Broken Bow, which is a two-parter for their season premiere. And it's, I forget, when did it debut? Back in 2005, I want to say.
My God,
wasn't it right near
oh no, you're right, 2001. 11th? Yeah, 2001. Yeah, because it came out maybe a month or two, no, maybe a month or two after the events of September 11th, which was really interesting because I've definitely, like, I felt like there was a bit of a response, and as we get further into the seasons, it'll even make more sense, like the influence. But the main aliens that are in this first season, definitely prominent placement, are the Sula, which a Trek Talk content creator mentioned to me, like, oh yeah, that's an obvious like other name for Taliban. And I was like, oh shoot, that's like really on the nose.
Trek isn't always super subtle, is it? Sometimes there's some nuance. Sometimes it's pretty like the half white, half black episode of TOS. Yeah. So in any event, this came out before I was born.
Yeah. Me too.
I was
ignore the Santa Claus white beard that I had.
Was born in November of 2004. So this is 3-ish years before my.
Yeah, September 26, 2001 is when it premiered on UPN.
Yeah, there was only a break of, I want to say, 3 or 4 months between the series finale of Voyager
May
and Enterprises.
2000.
Yes, there you go. Yeah. So there really was a very short gap in terms of not having any Trek TV. But interestingly enough, there was a gap of like 12 plus years after Enterprise went off the air before Discovery came on Paramount Plus. Or I'm sorry, I think it was CBS All Access actually at the time when it came out. But yeah, so we went through a huge Trek drought after this particular show. And so that's why I think it's a really interesting show for us to dive into, because you can kind of see if the show really does warrant the disdain that it gets a lot of times from fans. And I think like of the three of us, I've watched the most Enterprise, but I have not seen all of it. The final season, I definitely have not seen all of it. I know how it ends.
I mean, Trek talk. Like, I know how it ends. I know what happens in Deep Space Nine, even though I'm not finished with that yet. Yeah.
So, but I'm excited to go on this journey with both of you. It's going to be fantastic. So I think let's just let's go right into it.
All right.
I know you've got plenty of notes, Linda. Why don't you start us off?
Okay. Well, my first note is Klingons with 2 exclamation marks. So not a whole lot there to dive into. I did watch this like 2 weeks ago, so I might be a little bit fuzzy. Noted the fact that there were no universal translators yet. I like how they were consistent about that. It's one of the things I really liked about this episode was how I feel like realistic is a weird word to use, but how well they commit to the fact that not all this technology has been invented yet. So it really feels like this bridge between like modern day space travel in the real world and what we see in Star Trek, which I really liked. Again, they were committed to it. Like it felt more maybe in reach than other Treks do.
Yeah.
Like when you're watching another
like
Trek, it's obviously science fiction. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it definitely felt like Hoshi had a lot to do. Like she was an important, integral part of the bridge crew to be the only one who can really speak the language and understand what's going on. I found it a little strange that T'Pol wasn't able to offer up any, like the fact that they're like the Vulcans are clearly aware of the Klingons and they were the ones who wanted to do the mission and not give it to the, to the Federation, or I'm sorry, to early Starfleet, whatever you want to call them, because they're like, they didn't think that they were ready. Right. So the Vulcans, you would think then can speak the language and understand it. So
they have someone who can, and they have some way to understand. And that was something I was thinking about was like Vulcans don't have universal translators. Like they have to, right? But since you brought up Vulcans, now we got to talk about it.
Yes.
One of 3 things went wrong with the Vulcans in the show. And I don't, it could be possibly like there's an explanation coming up soon that we don't have yet, but it was either the writing, the direction, or the acting. And I cannot tell which of the 3, but they were very clearly have emotions in this episode, at least. Like they're very clearly emotional. They're getting angry. Yes. You're making a mistake. It was one of the quotes I had here. Like delivery was very angry. So I don't know. And honestly, I think I might have said this in our group chat, but I can't tell if I'm just so spoiled by rewatching Voyager over and over again because because Tim Russ's portrayal of Vulcan is so good. And he's just so good at it that anything else in comparison just doesn't meet that standard. If I'm like trying to hold people to an impossibly high standard, or if they actually are getting super emotional and it's just very out of character for everything that we know about them up until this point, I guess post this point. So that was my little rant about the Vulcans. So.
No, it's a good observation. I actually read an article earlier today. I was trying to find out more about Jolene Blalock and sort of her views on Trek, because whenever you see these get-togethers, like for instance at Star Trek Las Vegas right now, it's the 30th anniversary of Star Trek Voyager.
I know, I wasn't there.
And you see like the various casts and such, but whenever you see the Enterprise crew together, you never see her. She's like never at these.
Is she? Sorry, I don't know all the names yet. I'm not.
T'Pol.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so like the Vulcan. Yeah, so like she's never in these cons, and you don't get like, I've never seen her show up as like person to meet. She pretty much disappeared from acting shortly after Enterprise. She like retired from acting, just decided to be kind of like a family person, and which was, kudos to her, that's fine. But I wondered if there was like bad blood between her and Trek, and that's why she doesn't want to come back and stuff. The only thing she's done is she voiced herself in a Lower Decks episode.
That's right. Yes, that is right.
And I vaguely remember it, but I'm glad that she did that much at least. But I was wondering, so I read this article, and she said that she was at odds with Braga and Berman about the direction of her character and of the show and the portrayal of Klingons and of Vulcans in general. And so that right there tells you that it
that makes a lot of sense. I was like, one of the 3 is off and I can't tell which one it is. And I was trying to figure out like if it was written that way or if it was directed that way, or if it was acted that way, and maybe a combination of all 3. But I mean, it is not, what's a tactful way to say this? I guess it's not uncommon to hear that female cast members have had that issue in Trek. So I suppose that that's unfortunately in line with what we know. Not to speak ill of anyone because I wasn't there. I don't know anything, but
you're right.
I just that's very seems to be a common occurrence.
Well, you're right to mince words because all the Trek actors and actresses do watch our show. It's their favorite show, and we wouldn't want to offend them in any way, shape, or form. So, Vactor, what did you think of Tiny Lister Jr. as Vulcan? Or not Vulcan. I keep saying that. Klingon Kang or Kang.
Yeah.
The sound of silverware hitting the ground. Clang. Yes.
It's funny because he's a character actor that has a cult following. He has passed away since, but it's so funny to see him as a Klingon because his other roles that he's done have defined him so much. And it's funny because I was a kid, I'm sure you as well, Shoff. We both watched WWF wrestling growing up, and there was one feud that he had with Hulk Hogan. And it was like he became a wrestler, but he was also an actor. And his character crossed over between the movie that was No Holds Barred, the Hulk Hogan movie that was coming out, and then the wrestling. So that's how I first got to know him, was as a professional wrestler. And then later in the Friday movies as the Debo, the big bully. So those things have always kind of loomed over his head. Anytime I see him, I'm like, hey, it's Debo, or it's the guy from wrestling. So seeing him as a Klingon, couldn't distinguish, the disbelief, I was like, that's him, that's not a Klingon.
Very jarring. It's very jarring to see an actor that you know in Klingon makeup. There was an episode, I'm going to talk about Voyager, sorry, there was an episode,
do it
Killing Game, where they put Kate Mulgrew in Klingon makeup for an episode, and that was like, I was like, is that who that is? Like, I remember I had to rewind it a bunch. I was like, is that it was her, very distinct to her voice, but obviously looked nothing like her. Tim Russ played a Klingon in an episode of Deep Space Nine. Also very jarring. It's like, is that Tuvok? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to reconcile that it's the same person.
Yeah. I think probably the most alarming celebrity as a Klingon for me is Christopher Lloyd from Back to the Future, because he played the guy in Star Trek 3, right? So it's just the weirdest.
That's right. I totally forgot about that. Yeah.
Yes.
But for me, Tiny Lister.
Tiny.
What's his face? He in Fifth Element, he played the president.
Yes, that's right.
I love that movie.
Yeah, I love Fifth Element. Yeah. And so seeing him in this, I think his Klingon, his actual dialogue was hideous. It's all it's he doesn't say anything else. It's just what is going on with your mush mouth?
A series, an entire Star Trek series, and I don't know if it would be a podcast what they're doing with Khan right now or whatever, but we need something that explains the evolution of Klingons from Enterprise Discovery all the way through, because I feel like there's so much lore to unpack there, and they'll just drop a bunch of it in a random episode and then just not really talk about it much. It's not a Klingon centric episode. I feel like we need, because I was thinking that while watching this, I was like, there is so much that we don't know.
It's true.
Even just the Vulcans, let's be honest, right? I can't imagine that the Vulcans met the Klingons for the first time and were like, oh yeah, this is a species that we should definitely we should ally with them. They're like, that. No, nothing to do with that.
We're gonna keep our distance.
Yeah, exactly. So so it seemed weird that they would really know anything about them. So
that series, the evolution of them would be fascinating to me, because I came in, I watched bits and pieces of original series with my dad, but it was really Next Generation that was my first step into Star Trek. And so Worf, I was like, oh, the Klingons are our friends. They're allies with us. So when I saw these other things, I was like, wait a minute, what? So that evolution would be great to see that.
Yeah, I agree. And I want to see the kind of maybe the tension within Klingons and Starfleet for the first little bit, and I mean, we kind of get a little bit of that maybe in TNG, but I haven't finished Deep Space Nine. It's been a minute since I've seen TNG too, so there could be more of that. But yeah I think seeing
I do have a Klingon joke if you guys want to hear it. It's pretty bad, but I'm gonna say it anyway. So, what does the Enterprise and toilet paper have in common? They both go around Uranus looking for Klingons.
Oh, I've heard that before. Yeah.
I have not, and I can safely say I would have been okay not hearing that.
Maybe we should switch gears and talk about the theme song.
Oh, the theme song. Okay.
Shoff's been singing this.
Yeah.
I've got faith of the...
So this is going to be, I've decided I'm going to cover the theme song. It's going to be the opening for my debut EP.
Yes.
I'm kidding.
You really should. By the way, Linda is an amazing singer. For those that don't already know this about her, she's incredible. And with her permission, we'd love to put one of her songs at the end of this episode, just to
maybe a little teaser.
Yeah,
I'd have to make some calls before I could okay that. But
okay, sounds good. All right,
but
maybe a future episode then.
Maybe future episode. I really didn't hate the theme song at all. I thought it was unique. I will say I just miss, there's something so Star Trek about, it was a weird way to say that, about these are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise.
Okay.
And hearing that from TOS and TNG, I kind of wanted that for Enterprise. I get why it wasn't in Voyager. I mean, I would have loved that from Kate Mulgrew, but I understand like it was kind of a different vibe. I get why it wasn't in Deep Space Nine, but having that in Enterprise, I think would have made sense because it's, you know, the Enterprise. So I think that would have been a nice kind of tie-in and kind of a nice little nod to the other. So I do wish we'd had a revised version of that maybe, but I didn't hate the theme song. I think it gets a lot of hate. I was expecting it to be like horrific and it wasn't.
Good. I'm glad you liked it. Yeah. What'd you think, Vactor?
Yeah, this was one that I remember. My memories of Enterprise are the theme song and the gel scene, which I'm sure we'll talk about later.
We will get into that for sure.
Those are my only memories of Enterprise. It was the only show that I didn't watch as reruns came on TV. Just here's a Voyager episode. Here's a Next Generation episode. Enterprise was the only one that I didn't watch. And so I remember watching the pilot, and I don't know why, but I was just like, I'm not going to watch the rest of this. But now I'm going to excited.
And you remember the gel scene, and that wasn't enough to keep you hooked. I thought you would have had an awakening. You know what I mean?
It's 20 years later, and I'm still thinking about that scene. Watching it again, I was like, this is a little bit different than I remembered it. But okay,
It was so funny because it was so lazily thrown in there. Like they could have come up with a million other explanations. The one they came up with was just so bad. Like, what was it? Detox or something? Like
yeah. So they well, you know what? We're talking about it now, so let's unpack it. Let's go. So there, it is so. You're right. It is so ridiculous for a lot of reasons. One of the main ones because they were all on this away mission together, right? And of the bunch of them, only Trip and T'Pol got infected or contaminated with whatever it was, and so they needed to lather all this stuff all over their bodies. But here's the thing: like if you've got germs on your hands, do you go take a shower or do you just wash your fucking hands? Like, you know?
And I could even buy like, okay, like you've been contaminated with whatever, but then like you don't have individual, you know, like you're not like taking a shower. Like there's just a million other ways. If you're going to have a scene like this, it's obviously supposed to be like a sex sells kind of thing. Just make it explicitly sexual. Do you know what I mean? Like not that I'm advocating for that in Star Trek, but like if you're going to do that, just do it. Don't try to hide it with this. Like that's so like, it's such a thin veil anyway, that it's kind of insulting to a viewer to be like, do you know what I mean? Like try to hide it under, because it's just it's very obvious what it's meant to be. So just do it. Like just you know what I mean? Like
the blue light. It's like it's set in a real specific mood. Her skin is like glistening, you know. Right. And like, all the close-up shots of like her little like dainty belly button, you know,
like,
and
it's just so, the whole thing was just my dad literally, my direct quote is, "Why do they do this?" He was like, he's like, "Why did they do this?" Yeah, so and it went on forever, and I don't know if it was
half
actually
the episode.
That long.
Yeah, it's why the episode is a two-parter.
Long. It was so long. So and like even if we just back up from there a little bit, one of the other notes I have is lizard girls ? Eating butterflies ? So that was again weird. Like this felt very
favorite
like,
scene. I mean, what?
Like Orion slave girl kind of thing again, and that I was like, okay, like again, that felt like it went on forever as well. It did not nearly as long as the detox scene, but just kind of like one of those things where it was like, okay, like
or Archer and his blue undies, his blue onesie.
Okay, my dad goes, bad timing that he said this during that scene, but he was like, this is what I love about this show. And I was like, fuck. And he was like, it's just so, he was like, it's so realistic. Like, he's like sitting there, like reviewing, like it shows like the day-to-day life of like what it's like to actually live there and not just like the epic moments. And I was like, that's really true. And I listened to the Delta Flyers podcast where they reviewed Voyager, and Robert Duncan McNeil said in an episode where they had like this really like normal moment. He's like, I wish we had more of this on the show, of just like life on Voyager, like just the normal like day-to-day moments. And I think Enterprise did like a really, really good job of that. That's just like, again, I said this in the beginning, but like realistic, like the parts of the day that are, you know, not battling Klingons.
Right.
So
yeah, I mean, I vaguely remembered Archer in his blue undies, but you know, there was something for everyone in this episode. This was definitely a horny as hell episode.
It really was. I was like, my God. Like, all I could think of, what was the episode of TOS where they were all infected with that virus that made everyone like climb
just, like,
all over each other?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's all I was thinking about.
Yeah, I don't remember them. Yeah. Oh, right.
They talked about it in Lower Decks, and Mariner was like, no, not this virus.
Well, it's funny that Trip is the one that ends up, so like he's in their decon with T'Pol, because earlier in the episode, Lieutenant Reed is, you know, complaining about, he's like, I'm not going to have my weapons in time. They're not sending the right stuff. We're not going to be ready to go. And he's doing an impression of Trip saying, keep your shirt on, Lieutenant, you know, if it's going to be fine. Right? Then the only person in the episode who is without a shirt
right.
is Trip. And he was telling the other people to keep their shirt on. So I was like, this is funny. This is just funny writing. So.
Yeah. It was, yeah. But we did have a dog. Very happy to have Porthos. That's awesome. That was a great addition.
I'm trying to think, has there ever been a dog on a Starfleet vessel that we've seen?
Spot had a cat.
That's right.
Janeway had dogs. They weren't on Voyager with her.
Yeah.
She talked about them, and she sent them home with her fiance in the pilot. So there's that.
I would have loved to see like Archer like constantly rolling his
I was thinking his about
uniform,
that.
You know? Because I'm pretty sure, isn't that a beagle? Beagles shed a lot.
Yeah, we have a golden and a golden doodle, and they shed so much. They're not even allowed in my room because they shed so much that it's not even like worth it. But yeah, I was thinking about that while watching this. Like, he must have like, once they make the universal translator, does it just not work with animals? Is there a reason it doesn't work with animals specifically? Because I was thinking about that watching, and I was like,
not so universal, I guess.
Not so universal. Spot that Data's cat doesn't have conversations with him. It totally should. That's fucking awesome. Like,
that would be cool. Then we would just have a series of Star Trek that's strictly pets.
Yeah.
They should bring that up on Lower Decks.
They should, and they kind of did, actually. And Tendi made her the dog, but she's never seen a dog before.
Yeah,
so it like talked, and she's like, it's not supposed to talk, and they were like, no, dogs don't talk.
I would have liked to have heard on Discovery, the cat on Discovery.
I have not finished Discovery.
Okay, I'm going to be alone on this one because Vactor hasn't either.
It's been a minute.
Moving on.
But okay. Transporters,
yes.
Because people don't really transport yet in the show. My dad, we were talking about, I mean, obviously, like they're talking about in the series, like not wanting to transport, and like they only use it for, you know, whatever
supplies.
My dad made a really good point, which was, my point with the transporter is always that the transporter should be your medical technology. You don't need anything else. If they talk about all the time how they're like, oh, the biofilters and the transporter should pick up this disease or blah blah, or they were down, so whatever. If you have a broken leg, you could just transport the person from one transporter room to another, like another place on the ship, and just fix the broken leg. There's no reason you shouldn't be able to do that. This should be their medic. Like, that's all you need is the transporter. Because if you can alter their genes like that, like that's it. That's all you need. And then second, my dad made a really good point, which was, this is also your greatest weapon. Just dematerialize them and don't rematerialize them. And that's how you should have defeat the Borg. But really, like, if you just dematerialize all the Borg, like, they're always like, oh, like, our phasers are, you know, we can only use this one frequency and then we have to switch it and blah, blah. Just transport them.
Yeah, just hold them in the buffer and then
let them
empty
disappear.
The trash.
Right, exactly. Like, beam them into space. Right? Like, is that not the way to do it? So I had never thought about that before, but then I couldn't stop thinking about it. So
right. Yeah, now you won't be able to appreciate anything.
Right. And this is and I had a physics professor tell me last semester. She was like, I mean, she's also obviously, she's a physics professor. She's obviously also a Trekkie. And we were talking, she goes, I'm so sorry, because after you take this course, you'll never be able to watch any of your sci-fi again and look at it the same way. And I was like, okay, like I'm still going to enjoy it. And she was right. She was so right. It really, she was right. She's like, you're going to be the most annoying person to watch movies with. And I was like, okay. And she was absolutely right. She was 100% right. Yeah.
That's so funny. We got Archer's warp catchphrase as "Let's go."
Well, it's not as good as Janeway's.
So casual.
It is casual. It is casual. I feel like Picard and Janeway are very authoritative about it. Make it so. Do it. Like, it's very like,
yeah.
Yes,
or Pike's is hit it. You know,
right. I like that too. That's also,
I like that
again,
one. It's real good.
It's in between. It's a little more casual with the same like oomph. I'm not feeling that so far.
Vactor, do you remember your warp catchphrase when we were doing early on Technological?
I forgot. It was a joke of some sort, but I can't remember what it was.
I think it was something about a Mexican pizza.
I mean, that makes sense. That is my favorite food in the world. Yeah.
It's Baja Blast Off or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
I don't know. I feel like all I can think of is do it. I'm just very Janeway inspired, I guess. That's, yeah.
So like if you were captaining a ship, you would just say do it?
Yeah, I think so. It's just direct. It's to the point. There's no confusion, you know?
But do what, Captain? I'll do it for you. I just don't know what you want me to do.
I mean, after giving the order, right?
No, I
like,
know.
And then
I'm just giving you a hard time.
a little pretense. There were a couple of quotes that I wrote down that
All right.
The first one was, you want to tell him to shut up? Shut up. That was really
Yes.
Good.
I wrote the same note down.
Yes. The one in the beginning, this is no time to be imposing your ethical beliefs, which I thought that is Star Trek in a line. Like, that's what the whole thing is about, is when should you use your personal ethical belief system versus when should you use the law to guide your decisions. And I thought that was such a well-written line for just what Star Trek is and what it's about. So do
you recall who said that line? Was that T'Pol?
And I didn't write it down. I literally just wrote, this is no time to be imposing your ethical beliefs in quotes. So I have no context for that. I think it was a Vulcan to a Starfleet.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. No, those are some good quotes. Yeah, I wrote the same thing down about the telling Kling to shut up. That was hilarious.
So funny. That was really funny. Then again, loyalty's an emotion, isn't it? Was another one I had. That one was awesome. That was another really good one. I said he ate her up. That's what I said on that. So
I really liked the scene, just talking kind of along those lines. It's not a quotable scene per se, but there's the scene where Trip and T'Pol are on that away mission. And Trip keeps seeing this one kid who's like really struggling to breathe, and his mom keeps taking away the mask.
Yeah.
And Trip is getting visibly uncomfortable. Yeah, he's like, hey, knock it off over there. That boy can't breathe. She almost spit out her drink.
I wasn't expecting it.
Knock it off over there. Give him back his mask. And Paul is like, dude, chill out. He's this kind of alien. He can't breathe the area. She's helping him out. And I was thinking to myself, like, under the same circumstances, being like a human in an alien world like that, I would have done the same thing as Trip. Like, I would have been so compelled. And T'Pol was so interesting because she like is able to recognize this is where humanity is gonna struggle. Like, in and space.
She was totally right in that. I thought the Vulcans were really unfair for a lot of this episode and very just underestimating humans a lot, but she was totally right on that front, which is like, this is a weakness that humans have. We have to involve ourselves. We have to, like, fix things and make it right, even if it's by our standards or our laws and not the other society, which is like, I'm curious. I don't even remember if they mentioned the Prime Directive in this episode, but I'm curious if the Vulcans were the ones that kind of told Starfleet, like, you need the Prime Directive because you cannot help yourselves, and you need to implement this.
I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty sure that this show is sort of like helps form.
That's what I was thinking. So but I was thinking about that while watching, because it's something that every Starfleet captain struggles with. They all have at least several episodes where they have to decide whether or not it's worth their time, basically, to whether or not they need to put their own morals above the Prime Directive. And I'm wondering if the Vulcans were the ones who were kind of like, this is an issue this is a weakness that you have as a species.
Exactly.
Because it is.
Yeah. Like if we see a kid who's suffocating, we're going to try and help them.
Right.
If we see a Vulcan who needs their ears rubbed with lotion, we're going to help them. If we need to get our fingers inside their little panty strap, we're going to help them. That's what humans do.
It's just, yeah. I mean, I did say, I'm like, it's a weakness, but it's not, I guess it's all about perspective. I guess sometimes it's, because like Vulcans just won't help. Like there's just no, right? Like at this point, I guess, in their society, like as a society, they're not inclined to go out of their way to help other races, which I guess there's benefits and downsides to that. But I think, I don't know. I guess I'm talking about because I'm excited to see how the Vulcans and humans eventually come to realize that they actually are stronger if they are allies and that they work better together. And then we see that in as early as TOS, like Spock Spock advising Kirk, kind of balancing each other out. Janeway and Tuvok, my personal favorite human Vulcan pairing, obviously. Again, same thing, where kind of, have a good balance of morality and sheer willpower and kind of the like calm, level-headed logic. So
well, I was trying to put it in perspective. I'm like, what would make the Vulcans sort of like lose their patience? And
literally anything
about it, well, like look at, so like the Vulcans in First Contact, which is really the first instance that humans meet Vulcans, right? That's First Contact. So then fast forward 90 years, that's when this show takes place. So imagine that you're a Vulcan, and for the past 90 years, you've been watching humans just sort of kick rocks along and try to figure out, how to get a starship to warp 5. And then also, all the stuff that comes along with, getting yourself ready for spacefaring missions and watching them make just a million missteps and sort of basically being in a babysitter role for 90 years. Part of me was like, you know what? Now I get why they're visibly uncomfortable,
annoyed,
and like pissed off. Yeah, they're very annoyed. Also,
the best part about that is that Vulcans live like forever. So it was the same Vulcans that have been around for 90 years. It's not like it was like their grandparents were watching. It was them who's been watching. But you know what, though? I feel like every Vulcan in any Star Trek series is always like, oh, we don't feel emotion, blah, blah, blah. But they are always annoyed. You cannot tell me that Tuvok was not constantly annoyed by Neelix, because he was. So I feel like, we don't feel we don't feel emotion, except for annoyance. We feel that all the time. We're constantly pissed off all the time with everyone like that. I feel like that's, it's awesome. It makes for great television.
Yeah, Vulcans, all they do is they just swallow it down. That's the only difference.
That's what it is. They're not. They just suppress it, which I do. Yeah, Neelix annoyed Tuvok so much that centuries of meditation could not keep his annoyance under wraps. It just bubbled over.
It makes sense when you're watching Strange New Worlds with Spock. Anytime something comes out, it's like, oh, that's his human half. That's the reason why, is because he's half human.
Right.
But any other Vulcan, it's like, why is there emotion coming out?
Because it's just, annoyance is just the one thing I guess they haven't learned how to fully suppress. Everything else they can, but annoyance is just, they just can't do it. Humans are just that bad that
we are just that annoying.
That damn annoying that not even meditation can help. Like, it's just, we just suck that much.
The greatest threat to the Vulcan is
humanity. Not even because we're like going to destroy them or anything, just existing.
So what do we think about Sula bonds and their genetic engineering? I thought there was some cool elements to having like an alien species that could camouflage, could turn into Gumby.
Yeah, Gumby.
And also, I guess they could, if they needed to figure out if they could trust you, they just have to make out with you. Is the
this episode is so, I don't know. I'm really hoping the entire show isn't like this. I'm hoping that they tone it down a little bit. I'm guessing they won't, but I'm hoping that they do. I'm guessing they don't. My guess is no.
I will say that it does taper off, but not right away.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm one to talk because, but 7 of 9 isn't my favorite show. So I guess
the Decon chamber will be seen again.
Of course it will.
Of course it will. Again.
Why not?
And they won't be the only ones in there. Yeah, we'll see him. We'll see it again.
Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna.
Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say.
We'll watch. One of my favorite series of notes I have here is I love T'Pol, but the Vulcans are kind of annoying so far. And then 2 notes later, I have, wait, never mind, T'Pol is mean, LOL. And then I had another one about T'Pol somewhere. I can't find it. When she said, I'm taking command of the Enterprise, the looks that everyone gave her, fantastic. Awesome. That was a great moment. They talked about the seatbelts, about not having seatbelts on the starship, which I thought was very funny. Because they're constantly throwing themselves around the ship and the TOS, TNG, and Voyager.
Well, and I don't want to spoil this, but I kind of feel like they do get seatbelts.
They can't get seatbelts because then the question comes up: why did they take them out?
I know, but there's the part of me that like like how like when you can recall something, but it's so vague that you don't know necessarily if it's from this show that it happened. I have this vague memory that they did have seatbelts, but that quote is sort of like the entry point to answer the quote of, all right, well, we're gonna put some seatbelts in. We got to install some seatbelts.
And so you know what? They should. Can you imagine? Because like we have seatbelts in spaceships now. Can you imagine like, oh, well, now we're going to go faster, so we should probably take those out. Like,
right?
Like that's so dumb. Like, when did that happen? Like, I know it was just like an oversight in TOS, and then no one ever like went back and fixed it. But it's just such a like what do you mean we don't have seatbelts on the spaceship? Like,
when I remember watching this the first time, I was really intrigued by the Temporal Cold War concept that was brought up, and this whole like shadowy figure that's giving future advice to Silic, I guess he's kind of like a leader, at least a leader of this insurgent cabal of the Suliban. What do you guys think of that whole, like, are you intrigued by that storyline? Do you not care about that storyline? Like it certainly wasn't a major focus, but certainly it sort of like kind of laid some breadcrumbs of where things are going to go.
What do you think?
Yeah, I just want to see what the arc of this show is going to be like. What do they want to say? And also the time that this show was created, like you talking about earlier, the 9/11 and the Taliban and all those things. What is the message? What is the core message that this show has to say? And where are they going to go? Because I haven't looked into Enterprise. I've always known about it in the back of my mind. Oh yeah, that's, like I said, that's the one Trek that I did not watch in syndication. So I was always curious about where they go. So yeah, planting those breadcrumbs. I'm just interested. I'm curious wherever they go. Doesn't, like, to me, I'm like, oh, this is all fresh and new for me.
Yeah, I agree. I'm curious to see where they go with it. I'm intrigued by the concept. My dad's biggest critique of the show is that he hates this temporal plot, which is what he said. He didn't give anything away. He's like, I can't, this is the worst part of the show. The show would have been so much better without this. So I'm always a little bit wary when time travel is involved, but it's not like an immediate no. I think I just don't want it to create plot holes for other shows, which is what makes me nervous, or like it's not in the same timeline or anything like that. And then, but I'm not against it. Like I do like what I've seen of Discovery. I know that comes into play in Discovery, so I'm not I'm not anti time travel necessarily. I'm curious. I'm intrigued. I'm not forming an opinion yet on it.
I'm not saying any more because I do know more, but I'm going to purposely keep my mouth shut. But I do like the character of Silic. I think like he's got like an interesting sort of like oratory style. Like he kind of commands the scenes that he's in with Archer, even if he does dumb things. Like when they're in that room and he tells Archer, he's like, it would be unwise of you to fire that weapon in this room. And then what does he do when he gets Archer's weapon in the room?
Immediately fires.
He fires it. And then he gets knocked on his butt.
Of course.
Yeah.
I did say I thought the time room was really cool. I thought that was a really cool, like, just effect that they used. Like that was just a really cool design. And I really did like that. So I hope that we see that again. I kind of liked that idea more of like this room where time is like slightly out of phase. That felt like kind of almost like a Lower Decks plot, but it obviously wasn't done in a comedic way. But that felt like something I'd come up with Lower Decks. It was like you walk into this room and you're 5 seconds behind everyone else. But I really did like that. I thought that was really cool. I was like eyes glued to the screen on those scenes because it was really, really intriguing. So
I felt like the tail end of the episode sort of fell flat for me. It kind of felt like it kind of lacked a certain amount of direction. Like we need to put the Enterprise away from them. They're off in this area of nebula, like avoiding charges that are trying to like locate where the ship is. Just to me, it sort of felt chaotic for not like really good reasons.
Yeah.
And then everything was sort of wrapped up super quickly. They arrive on Kronos, which to me, that should be like a big moment, right? Like,
yeah,
this is the first time the humans have been on like an alien world like that. Their whole purpose was to deliver Klang to the Klingons, and the interaction is so minor. The Klingon guy just comes up and like with the blade, and he's like blah 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 blah, and Archer's like, what did he say? And she's like, you don't want to know. It's like, and that's
I'm not gonna tell you.
like this is the first interaction with humans and the Klingon Empire, not just like a single.
Honestly,
Klingon.
it's kind of like a couple of things. First of all, that raised a lot of questions for me about how the universal translator works. I was thinking about this while I was watching it. I was like, they're always, obviously this is just, it's just easier to do this on TV, but like their mouths are always moving as though they're speaking English. Like, also, whenever they get kidnapped and held hostage by aliens and they destroy their comm badges, they can still understand them.
Yeah.
It's kind of supposed to be what the universal translator is. And the second thing was, the ending of the pilot episode of Voyager is so good that it just nothing can measure up. Like that speech where she's talking about going home, like that, just nothing can be that good. So I just wasn't expecting the ending of this episode to be as good as that. So it didn't really register that much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, well, it's not Voyager. So.
And I wouldn't even argue that the Enterprise's first mission was super smooth, right? Like it had a lot of missteps and like issues along the way. And even still, Starfleet was like, you guys want to go out for like 5 years?
Do you just want to
that was a decent first mission. I mean, you guys want to like keep trying?
Died, so we'll just keep going. You're fine. Just come back if you need us. We're here. We'll be on Earth. Yeah,
we only have one of these ships, but yeah, go for it.
Right. That was the other thing. Like, this is the only one, right? They don't have a fleet yet or anything, so it was kind of just like, yeah, just use it to go explore. All right.
And did you also feel like it was weird that T'Pol wanted to continue with them? Like, to me, that was the weirdest thing. Like, I was like, this whole episode. Yeah, it just seemed
weird.
Which
made me think maybe she was just intentionally being difficult for the rest of the episode. Yeah. And then now she was showing her, like, no, I don't actually want to leave. I just wanted to give you a hard time.
She's like, nobody really cleaned my ears quite like Trip. So I think just in case I get to, contaminated again.
Right. Or she's just like fed up with the Vulcans, maybe. I'm not really sure what's going on yet. I'm curious to see more of her. I want to like her. She was kind of annoying in parts of this episode, but I really liked her at the beginning. I think I'm going to like her as the series continues. So we'll see. All
right. Speaking of which, let's go into real briefly, because we're going to kind of close out the episode, but favorite character and least favorite character so far after the first 2 episodes.
Can I say Porthos is my favorite?
Absolutely.
Porthos is my favorite.
It's a good choice. Good choice. Apparently in future episodes, we'll learn that he likes cheese a lot and farts a bunch.
Well, so, I named my you can't even see my triple, but I named my triple Porthos. Actually, one of my followers named my triple Porthos. So.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, so that's your favorite character. Do you have a least favorite character?
I don't think. Not yet. I want to see more.
Okay.
Before I form an opinion.
That's very diplomatic of you. Okay.
Thank you. I try.
Yeah, I'm the same. It's too early. This episode, there wasn't anyone that stood out as I hated them. I liked Phlox.
Yeah.
He reminded me a lot of Neelix. I wrote that down.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
I think I even have a note actually about that specifically. Let's see if I can find it.
God, I do too.
Dr. Phlox is like Neelix if Neelix was cool and not an annoying simp.
No!
Oops.
Neelix.
Shots fired.
Neelix, my space hobbit. That's what he is. He is a space hobbit. I'm gonna meet him at Star Trek Orlando very shortly. So
nice.
Him and
Don't
Jerry
tell him
Ryan.
I said that.
I did tell. This is like a total side note, but when I interviewed Tim Russ last year, and I was telling my physics professor beforehand. I was interviewing him for a music class, but I was talking to the physics professor I mentioned before, and we had like the semester long thing going on because her favorite captain is Picard, and I was always like, how could you as a female physics professor not love Janeway as much as I do? Like how could she not be your favorite? And so when I was in the interview with Tim Ross, I told him, I was like, my professor, like, Picard is her favorite. And I told her that after, and she goes, you did not tell Tuvok that I like Picard more than Janeway. And I was like, yes, I did. She was like, why would you do that? And I was like, I don't know, honestly.
That's funny.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. So Vactor, who's your favorite?
I think Phlox.
Phlox is your favorite, but you don't have the least favorite. Okay. I do have a least favorite because I have seen more of the show.
Okay, well, wait. Then can you tell us? Because if it involves stuff we haven't seen yet,
no, it won't. It will not spoil anything.
On this episode,
it's based on this episode only. Okay. I'm not a huge fan of Mayweather.
Which one is that?
He's the helmsman.
Okay,
he's the space boomer, as they call him.
Space boomer.
You're the space boomer. My issue with Mayweather in this episode is he's always looking for things to boast about. Like in every scene that he's in, it's, my dad, he used to change the gravity around, give us a little, pep in our step. Or then he's like, I like to find the sweet spot. And he's like just sitting by himself in the sweet spot. That is weird behavior.
That was a little weird. I was like, this is such a strange way to introduce a character.
If nobody had come and found him, he would just been sitting in the sweet spot by himself. It's weird. It is weird. Okay. He wasn't meditating, whatever. In fact, once he got up there and he was talking to Trip, they were talking about aliens with 3 boobs, so it's it was just weird. So Mayweather, to me, in this episode, I'm just like, you're going to need to work a little harder, pal. You're not getting
all right.
You're not getting my vote. But my favorite, probably because I like a comic relief character. I like a guy who's got some swag, some I think Trip Tucker is.
Yeah, he's pretty favorite. Awesome.
Yeah.
He's cool.
But I love Scott Bakula. I grew up watching Quantum Leap, and I absolutely love that show. And so having him as Captain Archer is fantastic. And I do love Captain Archer. And even though I think he's a little stiff in these first 2 episodes, he becomes a lot more likable as the show goes on. So
I thought he was I do like him so far. And also he's coming back as Archer. Maybe
that news was interesting. Potential for a standalone thing about him. I really question whether that is possible because he's just.
Sorry. Yeah.
I was gonna say he's just not the most popular captain to do that kind of treatment with, and the show itself, Enterprise, is not critically well received, and in fandom, it is hardly the favorite Trek show either. So if you're gonna go searching for a captain to follow maybe a backstory or go into a history of
Janeway.
I know Linda has a different captain in mind.
Janeway.
Yes. So I would fully support a young Janeway series. That would be fantastic.
That's what I want. That's absolutely what I want. But I honestly, part of me would be a little upset if we got Star Trek Archer before we got Star Trek Janeway, because it's just been talked about so much, and Kate Mulgrew has talked about it, and every time it gets brought up to her, she's always like, I would do it if it was the right story. And then I think on the Star Trek cruise, she said something that was super cryptic, where she was like, we're talking about it, or it's in discussion or whatever. So literally anything. I mean, I know we had Prodigy, and I know that was kind of Star Trek Janeway, but I want Janeway backstory really bad. So I hope that we get that at some point.
Do you have the autobiography of Catherine Janeway?
I do. I actually have it right here somewhere.
Yeah, I have it on my shelf too.
And I also have it's literally right here. And I also have Mosaic, which Jerry Taylor wrote. That's a novel about her childhood. And I'm wondering, or her backstory, and I'm wondering how much the two align. And I guess I should read both. But Mosaic, I think, is like a flashback kind of. So it's a little bit of her on Voyager and a little bit of her past. Oh, my favorite part of this, though, by far, is her meeting Tuvok for the first time.
Yes.
It's a fantastic scene that they reference in Voyager, but it was nice to read it and kind of know more about that. So
yeah, they have that long history. That's really cool. That their relationship is deep.
He outranked her when they met, which I find very interesting.
Yeah. Well, I think that was a brilliant first episode back of Treknopod. Really great to kind of unpack the first 2 episodes of Enterprise, and there's plenty more on the way for season 1. The next episode is called Fight or Flight, and it's gonna be what it's gonna be. We're gonna find out. I purposely did not watch any more. I really was itching to watch more Enterprise after watching the first 2 episodes, but I did not move ahead. I wanted it to be fresh in my brain. So we will be watching it this week. We will be talking about it next week. And we hope that you will check us out and keep following along with us and watch along with us. And we would love if you would continue to pass along our show to others who are in the Trek community, so we can get the word out that Treknopod is back, and we are really happy to be here.
Yeah.
With that, live long and prosper.